Welcome, I'm Jackson Bell.
And I'm Tamara Bell.
And you're listening to our podcast, Talking Movies with My Mom, where I, talk about movies with my mom. And just so you know, there will be spoilers. Ooh, it's Ookie Spooky Month, so it gives us the opportunity to talk about spooky movies. Ooh. But for real though, horror is one of our favorite genres, and with every good horror movie, there's 20 bad ones left to be forgotten in the waste bin of shame. Now, in the true tradition of trick-or-treating, we're going to share a movie that we feel is a treat, and another one that's more of a trick. Let's start with you, Mom.
So a few years ago, I saw a horror movie that, quite frankly, scared the shit out of me. It's called The Autopsy of Jane Doe. And according to one synopsis, stars Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch as a coroner and his son, who, while conducting an autopsy on a beautiful Jane Doe murder victim, find increasingly bizarre clues. I'm not sure why I was watching this by myself, because I don't typically watch horror by myself.
Yeah, you really don't.
I know, so I'm not sure where you were or what was going on, but the title.
I was probably at work.
Yeah, you probably were. And so the title, though, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, right? First off, you know that I watch Investigation Discovery, Dateline, like it's my job.
Like every good mom.
Exactly. And so I thought it would be more like a supernatural crime investigation mystery, right? Because it says, find increasingly bizarre clues. So I'm like, oh, okay, this sounds pretty cool. I'm all in, right? And those don't scare the bejesus out of me. But this one, okay, toward the end of this movie, I'm up off the couch. I'm walking around the living room. I can't sit still, right? My hands are over my eyes, but I'm still peeking through my fingers because while I'm like scared to death, I have to see what's going to happen next. Okay. And I may be misremembering this, but the movie pretty much takes place in one location, which is a very tight space. It's the morgue, or like the examination room. Also, they kind of are going up and down the hall, and there's an elevator, but it's really limited to the building. And the performances are amazing. Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch, had just the right amount of like, what, on their faces. There was confusion, and then there was panic. This movie is creepy, which all good horror movies should be. Actually, this movie is deliciously creepy.
So creepy, it's tasty.
Right. Oh my God. It is absolutely the best. But unfortunately, the movie I'm talking about today is none of that. I pulled the trick straw. So the movie I'm talking about isn't an A+ movie. While I'm sure it looked great on paper, it kind of translated to a hot mess on the screen. Actually, though, there is one scene, Jackson, I know that you know what I'm thinking about. There's one scene that I just started laughing. I'm guessing that's not what the director had in mind.
What movie are you talking about?
Well, the movie I'm talking about is The Haunting. And let's be very clear, this is the 1999 version.
Yeah, okay? Not the good one, not the Robert Wise one from 1963. This is the 1999 remake.
According to one synopsis, it is a study in fear that escalates into a heart-stopping nightmare for a professor and 3 subjects trapped in the mysterious, secluded mansion of Hill House. The subjects are originally called to the mansion as part of a study on insomnia. It stars Liam Neeson as the doctor, and Catherine Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, and Lili Taylor as the 3 research subjects. It's directed by Jan de Bont, who directed Speed and Twister. Okay, now I love those movies. And you'd think that he'd be an expert at creating tension, right? Building that tension that just grips you, especially with a horror movie. But sadly, no, that's not what happened. There was no, oh my God, don't go in the closet, or look out behind you, right? The mark of a great horror movie, for me anyway, is how much are you screaming at the screen?
Which is none for this movie.
Right? We didn't scream once.
We laughed, but we laughed. Not the way they intended.
Right. Now, obviously, as Jackson said, this is the remake of a 1963 movie, which was fantastic. And that movie in 1963 was actually based on the Shirley Jackson's 1959 novel, The Haunting of Hill House, which while I haven't read it yet, it's by all accounts a really spooky book. The 63 movie was based on that. This one, I don't know what this one is based on.
It's probably based on some haunted house script that they're like, well, how are we going to sell this? Let's just call it a Haunting remake.
I mean,
There you go.
that had to have been it, because honestly, okay, so in this version, the 3 research subjects all have trouble sleeping. So they're invited to participate in an experiment. There's a couple, the Dudleys, who are taking care of the mansion. And do we ever find out who's paying them?
No.
I mean, I'm like, who are these people? Right? Who's the boss? Who's paying their salaries? I don't know. Mr. Dudley is played by Bruce Dern, who, quite frankly, I mean, Bruce Dern can really play creepy, I think, but he's wasted here, unfortunately.
And he just shows up. Was it 2 times? He shows up at the end, and does he show up at the beginning?
God, does he? I think he does. Yes, he shows up at the beginning for a brief moment, and then he shows up at the end for another brief moment, and that's it. That's all we get to see of him. But now his wife, Mrs. Dudley, who is played by Marion Seldes, she actually has a fun little scene, right, with Lili Taylor, where she's telling her, no one will hear you in the night, in the dark.
And everyone's just like, okay.
And everyone's okay. You're right. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, first off, that totally gives away the plot, because, yeah, no one's going to hear you in the night, in the dark, which, of course, just screams, this is a creepy, spooky house, and you need to get the hell out now. I mean, I don't understand what they're still doing there. After that moment, they should have all just dispersed and left and said, I'm out of here. But the thing is that once you get to the mansion, okay, because at the very beginning of the movie, we see a little bit of backstory, you know, of a couple of the characters, which is fine. But it really is all about the mansion, of course. So once they get to the mansion, that mansion becomes like a closed space. And so going back to the autopsy of Jane Doe, that space was tight, which made it almost claustrophobic, right? Like you can't breathe. And that's what made that movie so great, on top of everything else is why it was great, is that it was so spooky, because you did kind of have this, I mean, like I can't breathe, right? Because everything is just so close together. And this mansion, though, is so huge that you almost feel like you should be able to get away from the spirits, because there's just too many places to be able to hide.
Yeah, this mansion's way too big for its own good. There's like so much. Honestly, it feels less like a mansion and more like, a haunted house you see at like Carnival, some low rent Carnival. And again, yeah, not the Disney Haunted Mansion, but one of those, right? Where everything's all like very obvious. You know a ghost is gonna pop out of the wall and scare you. You can see what's going on. You can see behind the scenes, people trying to put on the costumes and try to jump out and scare you. It's one of those types of horror movies.
Right. I mean, I know that Shirley Jackson's novel also takes place in the mansion. Of course it does. So obviously we're not suggesting that you have to lose the mansion. But if they could have played with the space more, maybe the juxtaposition of having so much room, but still feeling trapped, right? Because in the end, you are still in like a closed space. It's not like you're in a ginormous city that you can like run amok in. I mean, you were still in a closed space. But here's the thing too, you could escape it. That's another thing I didn't understand. I mean, the caretakers were leaving every day. They left, they came back, they left, they came back.
Well, it's fine too, because 2 other characters, because you mentioned the 3, like Zeta-Jones, Lili Taylor, and Owen Wilson, they weren't the only ones at first. There were 2 other characters who show up with them, a man and woman. And the woman, she gets like piano wire snaps, like hits her in the face. Then those 2 characters are like, we gotta get out of here. And they do. And then you never see them again for the rest of the movie. They're just never brought up again. It's
Right.
like, well, these two actors aren't as famous as everyone. Bye.
Right. I mean, they were the 2 research assistants, right? For Liam Neeson's research assistants. And yeah, they like booked it out of there after Mary, it was Mary and Todd. And after Mary got, hit with the piano string, snapped and flies into her eyes, like you say, then they're out of there. And I'm like, wait a minute, how come nobody else could leave? I didn't understand that. So, but right before that freak accident, Liam Neeson's character tells the others a ghost story about Hill House, right? That its original owner, Hugh Crane, was a 19th century textile tycoon. which at this point, since we know that he built the house in the 19th century, clearly that means that the Dudleys, unless the Dudleys were ghosts. And I think that could have been a really interesting type twist to this, but that's also not what happened. Apparently, they're actually human beings. So they couldn't have been hired by Hugh Crane. I'm still mystified as to who's hiring them, who owns this house. But anywho, so Liam Neeson's character tells Hugh Crane tells the story about how Hugh Crane constructed the home for his wife and eventually all their children. So apparently they were planning on like 50 kids, a lot of kids. I don't know how many kids, but it was a lot of kids. But their dream of a family was not meant to be because all the children were born stillborns, right? None of them survived. And this devastated his wife so much that she killed herself. Okay, so that's the ghost story that Liam Neeson tells them. Later that night, Nell sees the ghost of the children. And at that point, we're trying to figure out what children are these? I'm not sure who they are, right? Because we thought that all these children were dead, had died at birth.
And by the children, the ghost children, they take the form of objects within the house. So like faces appear on the walls. They like move around and talk through like the furniture, which is creepy, but again, probably not in the way they intended, because one of the big problems of the movie is that it's a very Hollywood movie, meaning they're given a very large budget to do whatever they wanted. The problem was it was the 90s, and the 90s had a big obsession with CGI. Like, how much CG can we put in this movie with the budget we have? Problem is, it was too much. Way too much CGI, very dated CGI too, very laughably cartoony CGI. It looks straight out like Saturday morning cartoon. Everyone's just like ghosts appear, but it's very gratuitously used. It just does not look convincing. Very poorly done. The characters barely react to these things, so the immersion's ruined. And it feels like some scenes happen just for the sake of showing off the CG, and they're never brought up again.
Yeah. And the thing is that, around that time, at some point around this time, right? Nell is wearing this white flowy nightgown. She's in this for like the last hour of the movie. And I'm not even sure where she gets it from, because this gown it is not anything else that she brought with her in her suitcase. It is completely different than any other clothes that she'd been wearing up until then. I'm not even sure what this gown is supposed to be. It's just white, flowy nightgown.
Well, you really seem to have an obsession with this white gown.
Well, I just am confused by it, I guess. I'm not sure where it comes from or why she's wearing it, but I'm guessing that maybe it gives her some sort of a superpower, some sort of a superpower to find out about all the things that are happening in the house. Because after she's got that gown on, she finds Crane's hidden office. She learns that he used orphan child labor in his cotton mills. She also finds out that he tortured and killed those children, and burned their bodies in the fireplace. She figures out that the children's spirits are trapped in the house. She finds out that he had a second wife, Carolyn, who turns out is her, great-great-grandma?
Yeah, something like that.
Which I'm not even sure how that works, because I don't know if they have children or not. Anywho, she's great something. And that she's at the house to help the dead children move on to the afterlife. She figures all that out while wearing that white gown. I'm thinking it's some sort of superpower for her to be able to connect with the house, I guess. I'm not sure what that is.
So it's like a super suit?
I think it's where's my super suit? I think it is.
Where's my super dress?
Right. And, what's so funny too is that Liam Neeson is obviously, as the doctor, right? He's skeptical of her claims, especially since the real reason he brought the three there is because he's conducting a fear study on the group. It doesn't have anything to do with insomnia. It's a fear study. He's tricked them to being there. And so he's thinking, oh my God, all my little booby traps, to cause them to lose their ever-loving minds is working. And that's why she thinks that the house is haunted. But after a statue tries to drown him, and I'm still not clear, that statue was just in the pool. I don't understand. And it wasn't even a pool. It was more like a wading pool. I mean.
Yeah, it was like a fountain almost.
A fountain. That's what it was. And the statue was on the ground, like it had broken off or something, or it was just like lounging in the middle of the fountain. it was a horizontal statue. It wasn't a vertical statue, which was kind of weird. So the statue's just kind of lounging in the fountain, and then it comes alive, and it's got blood dripping from its eyes, and it tries to drown Liam Neeson, but he easily dispatches it. So I guess that whatever demon took over that statue was like a weak demon, because it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, after that, Liam Neeson runs to the bathroom. Captain Zeta-Jones is like, what happened to you? And then they're interrupted by Nell. And then it's like, well, no need to explain. And it's like, what's the point of that scene? It's never brought up again.
Right. I mean, he never tells anybody that the statue came to life and tried to kill him, except it did get him thinking that maybe Hill House was haunted.
I also want to say, too, that, the whole Liam Neeson is tricking everybody and conducting this experiment. That was not in the original movie. In the original movie, everybody knew what they were getting into. He didn't have to trick them into coming. So
Right.
this movie, he's a little more unlikable in this movie because he's like, oh yeah, I tricked all of you to come here. Yeah, I'm messing with your minds for the sake of science. And it's like, okay, why add this needless bit to make it more of like a plot twist?
Right. Because in the original, they all knew that they were coming to see about the paranormal or supernatural phenomenon that might be at Hill House. And they all knew that that's what they were doing, because they all had some sort of special paranormal, supernatural abilities. Well, except for Luke.
Yeah, he was just there.
So in the original, there was a reason why those three were actually chosen. In this one, outside of Nell, because apparently she's, the great granddaughter or whatever.
Yeah, she's the savior messiah of the house.
Right, because she's related to Carolyn. That somehow the other two, we have no idea why they're there. I mean, they got roped into this. We have no idea what that is all about. But here's the main thing I'm not getting at this point. And I mean, there's a lot I'm not getting at this point. But the main thing I'm not getting is that a man, Crane, who wanted a large family, is all of a sudden going to go on a murderous rampage, killing the children who worked in his mills.
Well, he's evil.
But what? I mean,
he's evil.
I don't understand that. And I'm not sure how Carolyn plays into all of this, except to create that connection between Crane and Nell, because Nell is Carolyn's unknown until this very moment descendant. I don't get it. So at that point, Liam Neeson's character demands everybody's leaving the house. We got to get out of here. Run for your life. So they're running, but Hugh Crane's ghost traps them inside, as ghosts, I guess, tend to do. And Luke, Owen Wilson, somehow defaces a portrait of Crane. I don't know. I can't remember now. Does he like knife it or throw something at it? Or
I think so. At this point, everyone's like, break all the windows. We'll try and get out. And of course they can't, because at that point, Crane, through the power of ghostliness, they're all covered. They can't leave.
Right. They can't leave.
Stuff's in the way. And I guess Owen Wilson's like, screw you, Hugh Crane, and then like stabs a picture. And which then leads to the funniest scene in the entire movie.
Oh my God. This is so hilarious. I burst out laughing every time I even just think about it. So somehow, well, I guess they go into the room that's got the ginormous fireplace. And I don't mean a little nice, cozy log cabin kind of fireplace. I mean a fireplace that could house 5 people in it.
Which for some reason has a contraption where if you press like one of the stones inside, this big like ball or whatever comes down to like crush you. What purpose did it serve, like logically?
None. I mean, there's nothing. It almost seemed though it was what is that where you go back and forth?
Like a wrecking ball? Or
it was like a wrecking ball.
I mean, I guess this one
because remember, he's looking at it from a distance and then it like hits him in the face kind of thing. It
right.
swings
I'm sure it's
at
a
him.
logical name for something like this, but well, anyway, we'll just say this fireplace just so happens to have something like this for no reason.
Somehow the spirit grabs Owen Wilson by the legs and is pulling him toward the fireplace.
Not just that, he grabs him because Owen Wilson just so happened to stand on a rug, and the rug is being pulled.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Like super contrived. Owen Wilson just so happened to stand in one specific spot to where he's being dragged, and he can't leave because somehow he's like too attached to this rug to where he can't like roll off or like jump off or something.
Right. I mean, it's not like he levitates the rug so that he would fall down and maybe hurt himself. Then he gets to the fireplace. He stands up like an idiot, looks to one side where the wrecking ball swings, and he doesn't. I'm not sure. Is he just so like paralyzed with fear at that moment? Although the look on his face wasn't really paralyzed with fear. So I didn't buy that. I didn't understand why he didn't duck or something when he saw the ball coming at his face, but it's with such force that it decapitates him.
Bloodlessly too.
Bloodlessly. There's not like blood. I mean, at least if you're going to decapitate somebody, make it spectacular, right? I mean, give us all the gory details of that. But it was a pretty clean hit and no blood came out. All of a sudden, but they're screaming. Which,
well, except Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson's looking at like, oh, that looks so terrible.
How are we going to put
you gotta
that
be kidding me.
Right.
I'm gonna need a lot of glue and a lot of duct tape.
Right? Yeah, that was crazy. So then we get where Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones gets to run and hide in the house. And poor Nell, Crane manifests, just like poof, there he is, which I'm kind of wondering where's he been hiding all this time, but okay, that's whatever. So he poofs into the air and he's there, and so Liam Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, they run away and hide. Lili Taylor is there and she's trying to distract him. She realizes that he, thrives on the fear that he's created in these dead children that are somehow captured in the home. And Nell then, very forcefully says, "I'm not afraid of you." And so her declaration apparently,
those are the magic words.
All of a sudden he starts fading away.
He's like, no, how come nobody's thought of this before? No. It's literally straight out of a Care Bears movie.
So all of a sudden he is being pulled toward some sort of hell, right? He's kind of being dragged to hell, which Drag to Hell is a great movie.
Yeah, shout out to Sam Raimi.
This one, the dragging to hell, not so great. So he's being pulled and he drags Nell with him because I'm not sure how she got caught up in that, but apparently she did. So he's pulling her, but then the children, come save her from him?
I guess what I gathered was that the house is supposed to represent like purgatory, where all these souls are trapped in here. And the only way to escape is, I guess, to stop the big mean Crane, who is, like I said, dragged off to hell, literally, I guess. And Nell, I guess, since she's kind of like the reincarnation of her great-great-great-grandmother, she's supposed to be like the angelic figure because she's all in white. She's able to defeat Crane, who I guess is like the devil or a demon or whatever. And then once he's dead, all the kids in the house like just float up in the air along with Nell. Which I'm gonna call bullshit. Where was Owen Wilson in that scene? He was forgotten entirely.
Right? Does his soul not to get transformed and be ascended to heaven also? I mean, he's a victim in all this too.
He's like, come on, guys, really? I'm right here. I would have loved if like his body and his head like float up with the kids. Like, I'm here too, guys.
Right? I mean, his poor soul we don't know where it went. So yeah, that was just really I don't understand that. What the bottom line here is that this movie was very different from the novel, from what I can gather. And it just really makes you wish that they just maybe modernized the novel, but stuck closer to the source material.
Right, because what we got was a remake that was so embarrassing that Steven Spielberg himself removed his name from the movie. He was one of the producers because DreamWorks produced it since he's part of the SKG. And he was literally like, I'm not attaching my name to this crap, which considering that Spielberg's produced a lot of like movies of different quality, that says something. And the movie itself is just sloppy from like the casting. Like, I don't mind Owen Wilson and all, and he can be pretty funny, but what was he doing in this movie?
Right.
It's like, we need some comic relief. Owen Wilson.
I'm not sure what he was doing there. I mean, I like Owen Wilson in a lot of movies, but This one, I just felt that, yeah, he was miscast.
And as a remake, I think that one of the biggest problems in the movie is that it carries the name of the original
Right.
Haunting. Because on its own, it's just a very mediocre haunted house movie. It's very tame. Again, it's PG-13, so you're not gonna be too crazy with like your effects or your gore or anything super dark. But the problem is that because it attaches itself to the original, and it also has a really bad attempt at referencing a famous scene from the original as well. Because in the original, there's a scene where Nell and Theo, they're sleeping in a dark bedroom, and Nell, she's in like a bed. She thinks she's gripping Theo's hand, and then the lights turn on. We find out that Theo's on the other side of the room in like a separate bed. And then Nell, she looks at her hand and goes, "Oh God, whose hand was I holding?"
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is referenced in the remake very poorly. Nell's in the bedroom by herself. Shit happens. CGI effects happen. Ghosts go ooga booga. And then they poorly dub the "whose hand was I holding" line over the scene as if this movie had to hit a quota or make up for the fact that they had to cut the scene out of the movie. But they need to assure people that this is in fact the haunting, but because it has this famous line from it. I mean, why bother? It's like a lose-lose scenario.
Right. I mean, because the whole thing is that Nell and Theo are not sharing a room. This is a mansion. And so I'm not even sure why they thought that. Why would Theo be in Nell's room in the first place? I mean, there was no attempt to be like, hey, we're super scared. Let's just stay in one room together. That wasn't even a thing. So I'm not even sure what that scene was even supposed to be.
Exactly. Also, what the hell's going on with this haunted mansion? This is like a really designed mansion. Like there's like a mirror room, there's like a funhouse room, there's like a room you had to go on like stepping stones, there's a room with fake mirrors. It's like, what did Crane tell his interior designer when he was building the mansion?
Right? Because I mean, it was crazy.
So let me get straight. You want this room to spin around while creepy carnival music plays? Yes, and I want it done by next week. Get to it.
Yeah, I didn't understand any of that either. It was almost like it was just in there for effect, right? Because we have to have things that are really different. But then they didn't really use any of that. They had them cross over the stones in the water, okay, but that was never used ever again. Even the spinning room with the creepy carnival music was still, well, I think maybe they used it one more time, but even
I think they
that
used it
wasn't,
twice.
was it twice? They used
I
it the
think
first time
so.
when we actually walked in and saw it.
And then another time.
Right. And then that was it. I mean, if I'm spending, quite frankly, a budget, if I'm the director, producer of this movie and I'm spending money on creating that, I would use it like every other scene that would be in.
But we
Because,
built this room. We're gonna make damn good use of it.
right? I'm still not sure what that was.
Now, speaking of budgets, as we sort of wrap up this discussion of the movie, one thing about it is that I think this movie, I brought up a bit earlier on, the movie is just too expensive. This thing costs $80 million. That's way too much. The original movie cost about $1,050,000, which is about 10 million today, which, that's not the biggest budget, nor is it the smallest, but they did a lot with that budget. The original was far more of a psychological horror movie that made
Right.
great use of its limited budget to
Mhm.
produce a good number of scares, a lot of tension, a lot of just like, ooh, what's behind that door? We don't know, but you have to use your mind to figure it out. You have to think with the original movie. And I think that's honestly better than having a bigger budget because smaller budgets allow horror movies to get creative, while bigger budgets, I feel, like some movies go out of control. Like they need to
Mhm.
use as many special effects and CGI as they can to scare people. But it always feels like there's too much going on because by the end, it becomes a theme park ride.
Right.
And again, honestly, this felt more like the Haunted Mansion. And before you say anything, the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion movie. Because the climax does not make much sense, and the effects again have not aged well at all. And it's the worst kind of remake where we have all the technology needed to make something bigger and better. But what's in the original was the simplicity and just general serendipity. And going back to the budget, within 2 weeks of this movie's release, it went up against two far superior supernatural horror movies, The Blair Witch Project which was released the week after, and The Sixth Sense, which was released 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
Now, while Sixth Sense had a budget of $40 million, Blair Witch had a budget of peanuts, 60,000. Far smaller, but it was great because of that. They did so much with that limited budget.
Oh my God. Absolutely. I mean, the Blair Witch Project, I mean, I'm screaming. That movie scared me. And The Sixth Sense, absolutely. I'm like, oh my God, the ending completely came out of nowhere. Where this one, The Haunting, you're absolutely right. I mean, that had a lot of money, and unfortunately, it wasn't used in the best way.
It just felt like more of a disappointment, really, because I think you can do like justice to The Haunting with a good remake, or if you're a little more creative, just make an original movie inspired by The Haunting. A lot of Haunted Mansion movies, they've owed their success to the original Haunting movie.
Right. And the book.
Oh, and the book too. Can't forget about that. Like I just did.
So that's the trick.
And now for our treat, a very delicious treat, if you will, the one and only Trick or Treat.
Yay.
Not to be confused with the 1980s horror movie with Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. So the history behind this movie is very interesting. So Trick or Treat, as Trick or Treat, comes from the mind of Michael Dougherty, who made this 1996 animated short, Season's Greetings, for MTV's Cartoon Sushi, which is a spiritual sequel to Liquid Television. It was a very bare-bones short, but it had a nice, creepy atmosphere and starred a little kid in a Halloween costume who wasn't what he appeared to be. Now, while Dougherty Ward returned to the concept of short animated horror for MTV with his failed 2003 pilot Dead Time Stories, he would have become a screenwriter partner for Bryan Singer, having helped co-write X-Men 2, Superman Returns, and even X-Men Apocalypse. When the time came, Dougherty decided to make a movie inspired by Season's Greetings, and, using his connections to Singer, he got together a modest budget of $12 million. I'm also guessing he used his connections to Singer to acquire the cast and crew from the X-Men movies, which include Anna Paquin and Brian Cox. Would you say he's as good in Trick or Treat as he is in Jane Doe?
Well, he's playing a completely different character, but he's just as memorable here as he was in Jane Doe.
According to one synopsis, Trick or Treat weaves together 5 stories that occur on one fateful Halloween. We have the principal, about an everyday high school principal who has a secret life as a serial killer, surprise party, about a college virgin who might just have met the guy for her, the school bus massacre revisited, and that involves a group of teenagers pulling a mean prank, opening, pretty simple, about a woman who loathes the night and has to contend with her holiday-obsessed husband, and Meet Sam, where a mean old man meets his match with a demonic supernatural trick-or-treater. Now, Sam, titular Sam, from that short, is the main thread that ties all the stories together. Sam really just wants to make sure no one is disrespecting Halloween, as one usually does. Now, despite being completed in 2007 and intended for a theatrical release, distributor Warner Brothers decided, for some reason, to shelve the movie indefinitely, only to quietly release it on DVD in 2009. Now, it's unknown why Warner did this. Some people think it's because they wanted to avoid competition with Saw 4 that October, while others think that Warner was getting back at Dougherty and Singer for the flop of Superman Returns the year prior. Now, normally, this would be the death knell for someone like Dougherty, but over the years, the movie managed to acquire a cult following that grew to such extent that it would later receive a proper Blu-ray release, plus a comic book prequel called Days of the Dead, and talks of a sequel since 2013. Now, usually with spoiling movies, but this one y'all really need to see, because it's so full of surprises, and honestly, more people just need to watch it. We'll put where you can find it in the show notes. So after you're done listening to this episode, watch this movie, preferably on Halloween.
I mean, I loved this movie, but I did want to ask, how did you actually hear about it?
I heard about it through the internet. I read on like forums and sites that are like, Trick or Treat's a really good movie, was screwed over by the network, unappreciated. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know what it was really about. I just knew it was an anthology movie, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. I think everyone was right. This is a true holiday classic.
Well, when did you see it?
I saw it last October when the theater of mine, the theater I work at, was showing it, unfortunately on a day that I was working. And I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. Now is the time. I finally watched this movie, and I did.
I am so glad that you showed it to me, but what about it makes it a favorite for you?
Well, for one, I think it's just a damn good movie. Very well done. But what I love about it is that it feels like a big tribute to Halloween itself. It incorporates a lot of supernatural creatures really well, and the plots it tells are very creative and cleverly told, because this isn't your ordinary anthology movie. It's not like, say, Creepshow or anything by Amicus Productions, where it's like one short film that's begin, middle, end, over, then we move on to the next short film,
Right.
and then maybe a little wraparound connecting all these threads together. This one sort of interweaves all these stories going on at the same time on the same night in the same small town. So we see some characters in the story, we cut to another story, then we cut back to that previous story, and then we cut to another story, and sometimes characters intersperse, like a characters from one story seen in the background of another, or they pass on by, or they make reference to another story that won't happen yet until near the end. Normally this would be a mess because there's so many threads you have to keep up, but it's not. It's all just connected so well.
No, I totally agree with that. And one of the things that I really liked about it is the karma, because everything comes together. Like you said, I mean, it's all interwoven, but everything comes together at the end where those who deserve to die. And I love that. I also really loved the unexpectedness of it, right? It doesn't follow the normal tropes, like you were saying. I mean, the plots are really creative, like you were saying. It's not a paint by number horror film like The Haunting. The movie also gives clues, but you don't understand them until the spool of thread unravels. Then you're like, oh my God, that's so clever. Like Anna Paquin's character, Lori, for instance, she's dressed like Little Red Riding Hood for Halloween. And you don't understand the meaning of that until much later. And her sister tells their friends that she feels sorry for Lori because her mother calls her the runt of the litter. The foreshadowing in this movie really pays off.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. Now, I gotta ask you, out of all the segments of this movie, which one was your personal favorite?
Okay, that's a tough one. What was my favorite? I think I gotta go with the one where 4 teenagers want to bully a classmate that they have cruelly nicknamed Rhonda the Retard, who, by the way, must love, love, love Halloween, because her front yard is decorated with hundreds of jack-o'-lanterns. And I loved the visual of all of those jack-o'-lanterns because it was just such a well-lit yard with all the lights and the candles and the jack-o'-lanterns. I thought it was just beautiful.
Oh, so you're referring to the School Bus Massacre Revisited.
Yes, I am. The teenagers who were smashing pumpkins on the way over to Rhonda's house, by the way, talked her into going to a rock quarry that 30 years earlier was the site of this gruesome school bus accident. I guess I should say massacre. It was a massacre involving 8 mentally disturbed children who were clad in these freakish Halloween costumes. The bus was driven over the edge of the quarry, plummeting down to the lake at the bottom. So apparently the driver survived, but the bus was never recovered. 3 of the 4 teens pretend to be the ghosts, right, of the dead children. But that lasts only a hot minute because the real dead children rise from the water and then they start chasing these like meanies. These people are meanies.
Nice 5-year-old insult to their mom. You're a meanie. I don't like you. You're a meanie.
They were meanies though. But what I loved about this is that Rhonda has the last laugh. And let's just say it does not end well for those Halloween hatin' harassers.
Oh man, triple alliteration. That must mean you're serious.
I am serious. Halloween hatin' harassers. I'm giving it the edge though over the other ones because this is a tough decision, let me say, okay? But I'm giving it an edge over the others because the one who comes out on top here doesn't have any special powers. She's just using her head. And I think that just gives the rest of us hope. What was your favorite?
My favorite was Surprise Party with the college girls, and Anna Paquin's one of them. The one you brought up, how that uses clever foreshadowing. And I really like it because pretty much it starts out like a lot of like 2000s horror films. Like it's not 2000s specifically, but a lot of horror movies at the time where it's like, oh, it's these hot, sexy girls are going on these dates and they're going to a party. They're all like sexy and stuff. They're dressed in these like revealing outfits. And what's cool is that Anna Paquin's character, she's not who she appears to be. She's the younger sister, lot going against her. Nobody really treats her well. Even a big sister, even though she loves her, she still is like, ooh, can you get a hot date for the surprise party? Maybe. Haha. But Paquin's character ends up being really cool by the end. And again, I'm not saying what the big twist is. It's definitely a surprise for sure, but
it's a surprise party.
It is not just for the dates, but for the audience as well. And can I say the effects in that scene, the big reveal shot has a lot of practical effects going on. Oh my God, it looks so cool.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Can I say the movie itself looks so good. $12 million buys you a whole lot of cool looking shit, you know? a lot of great costume work. The atmosphere is really solid. Again, a low budget and a lot of creativity really can get you a lot of places. Unlike, say, The Haunting, where there was no real creativity going on in its effects. It was just effects for the sake of effects.
You know, I totally agree with that. So I think it's safe to say that the moral of this episode is that friends don't let friends watch bad horror movies, especially not at Halloween.
And on that note, thank you for joining us on today's show. And
happy Halloween, y'all!
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.
And as always, you can head over to talkingmovieswithmymom.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources from today's episode in the show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.